noise, device, microphone 2. Test 1, 2. There we go. Now we got audio, I believe. Yes. Device. We do. 1, 2. Alright, very good. We're officially live streaming. And we have no viewers. That's okay. So, do I need to shave or what? Jim of Green Dream Project just shaved. Went clean. I'm looking forward to it. I'm waiting for 1,000 subscribers. No big deal, we're not far from it. Spring is here though, and I'm really jonesing to take it off. I want to just burp, burp. We'll get there. So, yeah. Top chat, there we go. Make sure the chat's working. Yep. Okay, so I'm just kind of waiting for anybody who wants to come in and check it out. Basically just testing out the new Logitech C310 web camera. And just going to see how it works. And some people come in and we can get a good discussion going. That'd be great. We'll find out. I know it's Monday night. Everybody's probably worn out and crashed out in front of a TV or something. That is their prerogative. I'm sitting here drinking some fresh brewed, fresh roasted, fresh ground Guatemalan coffee. And I added a little bit of this. My friend Dave, well actually my friend Michelle, who's Dave's girlfriend, gave me some of this mushroom matcha mix. It's lion's mane and matcha. And really excellent, and gives a really nice stable caffeine clear focus kind of caffeine buzz. Very different from regular coffee. Oh, we do have some people coming in. Okay, good. Hello, welcome to the Pharmacy Seeds Network. Thanks for coming in and checking out the live stream. Geeky Gardens, my good friend, how are you, sir? Good to see you in. And the lurker, ah yes. Yeah, I smoke, I know, it's bad for you, I should quit. I know. I think about it, but I enjoy smoking. And when I'm working on projects, I like to sit back and have a cigarette. Yes, it did. It finally got here. Got here early. Amazon tried to scam me into paying an extra $8 to get it here by Wednesday, and I just went for the free shipping, and here it is Monday, and it's here. How are you tonight, Geeky Gardens? How's life treating you? Are you getting some of this beautiful weather? I forget where you're at exactly, but here in New York today we had 45 or 50 and sunny. It's gorgeous weather. So nice to have a taste of spring. Things are melting off. I put the ram pump back online today, made a few repairs. Yeah, oh okay, so you're a previous smoker then, I guess? Yeah, it is hard to stop, especially if you really enjoy smoking, it's even harder. Like aside from really enjoying it, I could quit from an addiction standpoint, but I like it too much. Anyway, so we got got a couple of delivery line breaks here. Let me just make sure my camera is showing this. Yeah, there you go. So you can see where that stretched out. in the freeze. It's really interesting. You know, I don't know if you've seen, most pipes break, but usually when pipes break, they just kind of split open around their seam. But this black polyline is such a stretchable plastic, it kind of makes this interesting like shark fin ridge before it finally opens a little hole. And I actually had 2 of those, and I've been through some really harsh winters and haven't had too many of these. I've only ever had this happen one other time before, and then today there were 2 of them I had to cut out and replace. Anyway, that's that. Oh, in Central Florida, yeah, you got nothing to complain about. In the 80s today. 5 fresh tomatoes. Oh, awesome. Papa Truck Prepstetter. Very nice to see you in here. I don't know if I've seen your channel before or not, but welcome to the Pharmacy Seeds Network. Thanks for coming in and checking us out. We were just talking about weather a little bit, and Geeky Guard. Well, I guess you can read the chat. I don't need to read the chat back to you. Anyway, greetings. Welcome. Thanks for checking in. Just got this camera in the mail today and testing it out. In the future, sometime in the next couple months, going to be starting up a podcast, and I also have a high-power digital microscope, which I'll be employing. We'll be looking at insects and biology and doing some nice close-up stuff and discussing that sort of thing, so we can all learn more about biology and entomology and all that sort of thing. Yeah, 80. And let's see. And the bikers are coming to town. Yeah. I'll bet they're glad to get out on the bikes and not have snow and ice in the way. Looks like we got 4 people in here now, so that's good. Oh, awesome. From the 3rd coast. Hey, J-Dog, what's going on? It's almost impossible to find trace tape here. But soil temp never falls below 50. Really? 50 degrees? Where are you at again, J-Dog? It goes. It goes, which is better than it stops, right, Papa Truck Prepstetter? Third Coast. What are you, Gulf Coast? Houston. Yeah, okay. Oh, it must be beautiful down there. Well, I assume it's beautiful down there. I don't know. I haven't looked at a radar map that far away. I could look at one quick. Check it out. You guys familiar with the lightning maps? Lightningmaps.org. Really nice weather mapping software. Radar, satellite, and lightning strikes in real time. Wherever you zoom to that area on the map, it'll actually tally lightning strikes per minute and all. So it's really great for monitoring thunderstorms and extreme weather fronts. Don't know if you guys are familiar with it, but lightningmaps.org. Excellent. The weather is boring on the Gulf Coast. Pensacola, okay. Nice. You guys are all in the south where it's warm already. We're still melting snow and ice off up here. We still have frozen ground. I mean, soil temps, I think, are still around 30 degrees. On DSH. What's DSH, Geeky? Really enjoyed your comments in Homesteading the Hard Way live chat the other night, J-Dog. Had a few good laughs out of those. Michigan, oh, okay. I have cousins in Michigan, Detroit area, and then my cousin of the same family of my generation, they're like second cousins or something, but Mary, who's my age or a little younger, her and her husband have a farm in Michigan somewhere. I'll have to go back and ask them exactly where they are, but I know they're farming in Michigan. Watch, oh, Deep South Homestead. Ah, okay. Down here watching folks freak out over threats is fun. It's amazing how easily people freak out, isn't it? Like, this whole, like, fear-mongering media thing cracks me up. That people, like, it just cracks me up. Like, we get a snowstorm coming in, and you wouldn't believe, like, the frenzy of that people go to the store, like, they have to stock up for a 3-month, like, barricade yourself in your home thing. It's like, it's gonna snow, the snow's gonna clear out, and in 2 days you won't even you just drive down the road and get what you need. But they just completely freak out. I refuse to be freaked out. Maybe some other time. So does anybody have any specific topics they want to talk about tonight, or anything anything I can tell you about, or I don't know. I'm still getting used to live streams. I'm so used to, like, figuring out a topic for a video and recording it and then editing it and making this nice, well, relatively clean, finished copy. Live stream is a little more interactive for me than I'm used to, for YouTube at least. I do a lot of radio stuff, which is very on the fly. But the frenzy for French toast. Cleaned out at bread, eggs, and milk first. Really? I mean, French toast is good, but I don't eat much of it anymore. It's just too much carbs and sugar. I go into a sugar coma afterward. Yeah, yes. Snow means SHTF. Especially where you guys are, man. But even up here in New York, like, we get snow all winter long. We get snow and ice all the time, and still people freak out. Like, you try to go to the store to pick up something you've needed for a week or whatever on a day before a snowstorm, and it's just a total frenzy. I won't even go. Like, I'll do without butter or half and half or whatever it is I need till the day after the storm, just to let it clear out, because people are just insane over it. I mean, they really act like the end of the world is coming. It's not over a snowstorm, I don't think. Now, a meteor strike, that's a whole different thing, you know, but come on. How's my audio sounding to you guys, and how is the video quality? Are you getting decent video quality? Up the video quality on my receive here and see. That seems okay here. And if I'm talking kind of low, can you still hear me okay, or do I need to speak up? I like having the audio on the camera here, because I hate wearing earphones. I'm just not an earphone person. But the quality of audio on the mic on the earphones is really nice. I don't know. I just want to make sure you guys can hear me okay. Here it's the same for hurricanes, even though you can watch them for days before they hit. Yeah. Well, I mean, at least the hurricane, it's like you could potentially have flooding and not be able to get to the store. With a snowstorm here in New York, unless it's like a major crushing storm or heavy ice or whatever, good. Sounds good. Video behind sometimes. A little laggy. Yeah, I have DSL, so you might get a little bit of buffering. I apologize for my crappy internet connection. But alright, glad to hear the audio is good. I wonder if you hear the phone ringing in the background. Grew up in Kentucky. 24-inch for the frost line. Made ice rinks in the winter. I didn't realize Kentucky got that cold. I have a friend that I grew up with. Actually, he moved back to the area, but I grew up with him. His family was from Kentucky, and his dad worked at this the old Rhinebeck Aerodrome. They have YouTube videos on there, and in fact, there's a really good one. It's my friend who. Well, long story short, my friend Matt was an airline pilot, and he has since come out of the airline business, and now he's part owner manager of a local movie theater. But on weekends he goes down and flies at the old Rhinebeck Aerodrome, which, if you've never been, is really cool. They have biplanes and like old World War I, World War II planes, and they put on this whole show. And Matt is actually a stunt pilot, and he bought his own Great Lakes trainer last year or the year before. And actually some of his stunt videos are on YouTube. So if you look up Matt Hewer, Aerodrome Stunt Pilot, or something like that, you'll see it. In fact, let me see if I can find that. Yeah, here, Rhinebeck Aerodrome. Yeah, I'll put a link in the chat here for you. Drop a link right in the chat. Frost line at 24 inches in Kentucky. I wouldn't have thought it would be that deep here. That's what they recommend here in New York as well. That's my friend Matt flying at the aerodrome. Anyway, my other friend Clay, his family was from Kentucky, and they moved away in like 5th grade. He and I were like best friends when we were kids, and they moved away. I used to play over at the aerodrome with them all the time. I could go on for hours about all this good memories. Anyway, they moved away to Kentucky, and then he's moved back since, and now he's one of the main pilots down at the old Rhinebeck Aerodrome. I think he also participates in some of the mechanical work and that kind of stuff. And I actually still haven't had a chance to get down there and catch up with him, although I want to sometime soon. But anyway, that's what I know about Kentucky. I know when they were moving down there, he was excited about riding dirt bikes in the Blackwater, I think it was, trails and stuff. So how old were you when you moved from Kentucky to Houston, right? I know, it's pretty unprofessional to smoke while I live stream, right? I've been watching too many Joe Rogan. They just do it all. Drink, smoke weed, smoke cigarettes, doesn't matter. Although I'll try to keep my language a little more family friendly. They tend to drop a few F-bombs over there. Left Kentucky at 18, okay. Oh, so you really completely grew up in Kentucky, basically. Okay. What part of Kentucky? And did you like Kentucky? And by the way, we never made ice rinks here, but we used to go down to the pond. My parents have a huge pond behind their house. It's actually on town property, but we had permission to go down there. My brother and I used to go down and shovel that whole darn thing and make a hockey rink. And every year we'd get a bunch of his friends together and a few of mine, and we'd play hockey. And my wrists still aren't right today from all the falls on the ice. But it was a lot of fun. And then my brother came home from college one year and brought me a nice four-wheel drive RC car. And I used to go down there after school every day and do donuts on the ice and jump snowbanks with it. That was so much fun. So I wonder if anybody else will show up for the live stream here. I know I didn't give much notice, but you know how it goes. Just got it in and thought, well, let's go put it to work. Owensboro. Remember playing on the river, bucket fishing, and the smell of soy oil paint. Huh. Soy oil paint. Was there a paint factory nearby or something? Playing on the river. I played on many rivers and streams here in upstate New York. Very rocky, most of them very rocky bedded streams. We used to trout fish and all that sort of thing. It's a lot of fun. So has anyone looked into where farming is going in terms of robotics? I don't know if anybody's been paying attention to this, but there's a lot of interesting stuff going on regarding robotics and farming equipment becoming automatized, and especially the bigger farms who can afford that equipment and work on that scale. but I wonder if anyone's looked into it. I'm going to pull up a couple links here and drop in the chat if I can find them. I know I sent them to my friend Aaron. Yeah. So here's one. URL. You never give notice. Yeah, I hear you. I'd like to, but my schedule's so screwy, it's hard to give good notice. I could give notice and then forget and not show up for an hour or so. Plant. They cook beans and made oil. Oh, they cook beans and made oil for oh, oil plant. I don't know why I read that as paint. Gotcha. For oil, right, soy oil. That makes sense. Yeah, mostly the corporate farms. Exactly, exactly. And so my thought is, as I'm building some really small scale stuff with the Raspberry Pi, my thought is to develop some robotics for smaller organic homestead small farm operations so that we can compete from a labor standpoint. I don't really I don't know if I'm ready to spearhead a company, but I think the concept is something we should be thinking about, and I think there's a huge market there for the right people at the right time with the right stuff. But yeah, actually the tractors, in fact, even when I was working for the engineer, they had bulldozers and dump trucks and all that kind of stuff hooked up directly to GPS. The bulldozer would do, you could load an engineering map into it, and it would do the cut fill along the drive line to elevation, to precision. Basically, they could just turn it loose, no operator. They always kept an operator in it as a backup so it wouldn't run somebody over. But pretty incredible. And they're, of course, doing that with you know, the big John Deere tractors and combines and all that kind of stuff, which is pretty cool. But it's also changing things here. And in New York, they're trying, I don't know if they passed it or they're trying to pass a bill that's going to make it so that farm labor can't work more than a normal 8-hour day without getting overtime, which is not bad from a labor person's standpoint. But if you're running a small farm and you're already struggling to pay labor, if you got to pay overtime on top of it, it's going to make it even harder to compete with the big farms. So I don't know, I just wondered if anyone was onto it. And I think I got a link here. Oh, I dropped that link. Let me get the other one. You guys can check these out when you get a chance. Interesting stuff regardless. And then they're also doing drone survey stuff, which is interesting, which is something I really actually would like to get into, because I think we can, well, I don't know if anyone here is familiar with plant sap analysis. But hold on, let me get this link crossed over before I confuse myself. There we go. I don't know if anyone here is familiar with plant sap analysis, but there's a company called Advancing Eco Agriculture. They're doing plant sap analysis, and they can actually predict a crop having a disease or pest issue up to 3 weeks before it actually has the disease or pest issue show up. And in addition, with targeted foliar feeds, they can actually correct that deficiency and prevent the pest disease issue or crop crash or whatever. You know, basically it all comes down to nutritional deficiencies, and if you can take a sap sample in advance, you can have an effect on that before there's a problem. And then I think if you take that and combine it with robotics, you have a tremendous advantage. The easiest robotic application is fish farms. GPS guided blades on maintainers for road maintenance. Yes, yes, interesting. Fish farms, I hadn't seen that. I'll have to look into that. GPS guided blades on maintainers for road maintenance. Yeah. We were doing a lot of that kind of stuff even when, well, I guess it's 10 years ago now that I was working for an engineer. I was working for a civil engineer and land surveyor. And we did a lot of stuff by GPS and total station, and we combined the two. And oftentimes the excavation companies would ask for that map data in state plane coordinates, which is basically a common coordinate system based on the state of New York, and I think they do that in other states. Haskins family vlog. Hey, nice to see you. Nice to see you too. Well, nice to see your text, and glad you're happy to see my face. I think it needs a shave. What do you think? Blaze it all off? What do you think? Don't mind my smoking. I know I should quit. So how are you guys tonight? Timers and pumps. Oh yeah, that's a lot like hydroponics. I've messed around with a lot of that kind of stuff. In fact, on my channel, if you go back and look at old, what's the video playlist? Old stuff, I think the playlist is called. There's one in there where I had a fully set up automated aeroponic system. That was a lot of fun to play with, but it's a lot of power draw. I don't find it makes sense for production if you really are after quality. But it's a lot of fun to play with. And fish farm, certainly you could apply that. And that's a little different than trying to keep plants in a non-soil medium. Yeah, it is really filling out. A super busy day. Well, busy's good. I'd rather be busy than bored. Uh-oh. It looks like it might have been a little stressful, though. Yeah, it's, let's see. My last cut, I think, was, oh, yeah. It would have been like August 20th, I think, or 21st, somewhere in there. Yeah, they do go hand in hand for sure, J-Dog. I think August 20th, because there's another YouTube channel, and it's actually the landlord's, well, one of the landlord's grandchildren has a video production company called Three Bridges Productions, and they do comedy stuff. And wowza! Yeah, one of those, huh? July, yeah. Oh, so you're probably looking about like me, huh? Well, I don't know which one of the Haskins you are, so I won't assume you have a beard, but I'm sure your hair has gotten long. Yeah, summertime I like to blaze it all off, keep my face shaved, and stay cool. Wintertime, when it's cold up here, I let it grow in and keep me warm. And I kind of look like a hillbilly for about 6 months, and then I cut it off, and then people don't recognize me anymore again. Yeah, use the plants for filtration. Yeah. Actually, we did an engineering job here for a place called Common Fire. It's kind of like a community, eco-minded community living situation sort of thing. They actually wanted to do reed beds for septic water filtration, and of course our zoning board wouldn't let them do that, even though the reed beds tested out cleaner than a septic system does, a standard septic system. Zoning can really be a pain in the butt. It takes a long time for them to catch up to new technologies and new ways of doing things. They're very stuck in their ways. Okay, your 8-year-old was responding. Okay, hi Amber. Hi. And that's fine, no problem. I'm sure you can handle the phone. He might handle the phone better than you or I. Or tablet, I don't know what you guys are on, but obviously you're mobile. Looks like we got 6 people in here now, so somebody else jumped in. Welcome to whoever that is. Thanks for watching the Pharmacy Seeds Network. Let's hope he doesn't have a beard. If he does, he's been eating too many hormone-injected meats or something. It's funny. I remember being a kid and like wanting to grow facial hair, you know, and then about a year after it started growing, I realized what a pain that is. I regretted wishing for that. On the phone, okay, I figured. the wrong channel. Oh, yeah. That was pointed at Haskins Family Vlog. I get you. I follow you. I'm pretty quick on the pickup. So, anybody experiencing any buffering issues or anything like that? Or are we clean and solid? Beard is whiter than mine. Oh, well, that makes me feel a little better. 2 years ago. Yeah, I got laid off in 2009 with that big 2008 crunch. We had a huge housing boom going on here in this area before that. And then when the stock market crashed, all the housing boom dried up. And I was actually one of the last surveyor engineer guys to be laid off. And I remember running into other surveyors and they're like, "You're still working? I can't believe you're still working." I am clear. Okay, good. Thank you. But it did finally dry up for us too. I enjoyed that job. It was good, good technical experience. Pretty challenging, but I was kind of getting tired of it. And well, the boss could be a little demanding sometimes. And so when I got laid off, it was kind of a relief. And that's when I started really trying to go for farming full time. I still haven't figured out how to make a whole lot of money doing it. I have a couple other part-time jobs I do that kind of keep me sort of afloat. But I'm hoping this year to bring it around and actually start making some money. Now that I have a tractor and I have some root stock to propagate and I'm starting to get things together. It's taken me a long time to sort of recover from the layoff and other life issues, family and child support sort of issues. But I wasn't going to quit, you know. So robotics in fish farms. Yeah, I hadn't thought of that. We used to have a small, not a commercial, but like a private fish farm, trout farm, actually up in the Catskills. My great grandfather had farmed up in the Catskills in a little town called Delhi, New York, and we had the 80-acre farm there, and then about 4 miles away. Hey, Brandon Burnham, I'm doing good. How are you? Excuse me. And then about 4 miles away, we had another farm. Well, it wasn't really a farm. It was just a raw piece of land that had been a farm in the family years back. And over there was a huge spring that would keep 2 4-inch pipes flowing. Do I fart full time? No, once in a while if I can help it. But, you know, I can tell the 8-year-old's on the phone now. Glad to hear it, Brandon. Welcome to the live stream. Anyway, so we had there was a big spring over there, and it was a pond we had set up as a breeding pond. We put gravel beds in the bottom of the pond, and we brought the 2 4-inch feed lines in from the spring into the gravel bed as a place for the trout to spawn. And we would breed the trout there, and then we would transfer some of them over to the 2 stock ponds we had on the main farm. It was really just a program my grandfather had put together so he could go out the back door at the main farm and fish for trout. But it was a really cool experience, and it was a great thing to be around and learn about growing up as a kid. We also had a sap house there that my dad did run commercially for a while, in addition to his regular job. He used to work for IBM. Do I farm full time? That's a big distinguishment. Catfish and tilapia. Okay, yeah, yeah. Tilapia, I looked into tilapia because I thought they would work in the greenhouse well. I haven't gotten back to doing that because I'm trying to stay on top of everything I have going right now. But I do want to play with that later. And I hear tilapia is a good way to do money. I hadn't figured out how to a way to close the fertility loop protein-wise for the tilapia. I don't know, maybe you know more about that? As far as do I farm full-time? Technically, no. But basically, every minute that I'm awake, that I'm not working my computer job or working the other job or just trying to do basic life stuff, I'm either thinking about farming or developing something or working on something on the farm. So I guess you could say I farm full-time, but I'm not making any real income from it yet. It's taken me some time to set up and test greenhouse environmental controls and get those things down, and I'm still learning my soil and plant health stuff a little better. I'm getting better, but I'm not quite there yet. Oh, you like Ben Rayner? Hello, welcome Ben Rayner. Didn't see you in here. You like my techno twist as an engineer yourself. You have a ram pump that accidentally worked. Hey, that's pretty lucky. Well, thanks. I'm glad you like the techno twist. And yeah, I mean, I love farming and that sort of stuff, but I think my real passion is engineering. I love overcoming engineering problems. I love finding a way to automate something or, you know, that sort of thing. And apparently you have an engineer in mind as well, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah, it's really one of my favorite things. And I love applying it to farming because farming is such a challenging industry to begin with. Anytime you can automate something and take some of the workload off yourself, you're doing better. Catfish and tilapia are easy to raise. Okay. Yeah, I never raised either one of them. Like I said, my experience fish farm wise was mostly with trout, and they like really cold water. It's actually hard to keep their environment on point if you don't have good cold water flow. A couple of tanks, 6 foot wide, 4 foot deep, 20 foot long, one tank for each. Watercress is part of the filter, which I have lots of naturally down here. Awesome. Cattails in the filter too. Yup, I have cattails down here too. Those are in the pond. Awesome. Now, what would you make the tank out of? Something like EPDM liner or something more rigid? Are you familiar with EPDM liner? Like they use for ponds. And cattails, by the way, are an excellent food source also. Seth's Adventure, hello! Welcome to the Pharmacy Seeds Network Live. Just got the webcam in today, testing it out. Have a little conversation about fish farming and robots, and well, we've been all over the place. And probably will continue to do so. Anyway, I was going to say cattails are an excellent food source also. The root part can be eaten, and the stalk that the flower grows on makes excellent fire starting sticks, among other things. There's a book by a guy named Arthur Haynes, who is a taxonomist, a plant taxonomist in Maine. Super, super knowledgeable guy. Really interesting. He's got some YouTube videos out too. Him and Daniel Vitalis. And Daniel Vitalis has a podcast all based on natural plants and plant medicine and plant health and basically building up your body's immune system and strength and durability through wild natural foods. And he's had Arthur Haynes on as an interview many times. I highly recommend checking their podcast out. Swimming pool kits and treated with wood to support. Yeah, that's probably the easy way to do it. There's a farm just down the road here that they just got, I think, 4 20,000-gallon fish tanks in, and I haven't had a chance to stop in and ask them what they're doing. Okay, Haskins, have a good one. Good to see you guys. Thanks for checking in. Drive careful. We'll see you soon. Anyway, I haven't had a chance to stop and ask them what they're doing with them, but I can tell they're setting up some sort of fish farm thing. They've also got a few chicken tractors there. I think they're doing meat birds or something. But I understand that guy is the same guy who's bought up about 5 or 6 other big farms around the area, and I think his dad had quite a bit of money and has financed them. So nice to start on a massive $1 million budget if you could. Not all of us have that opportunity. Some of us are working on half a shoestring like me. But I figured out how to tie it so it works better. Swimming pool kits. Yeah, that's what I did for the ram pump reservoir. I got the one of those inflatable Intex things. 4,400 gallons, I think it is. Code in LabVIEW. No syntax. Developed 2 springs this year. Surprised how well they work through the big freezes. Using an eye thingy, so I type slow. Okay. Code in LabVIEW. I've never heard of LabVIEW. I'll have to check that out. Yeah, mine came with a sand filter and pump, and because mine's just a reservoir and I'm not putting the fish in it, I opted not to use the pump because I figured I'd burn as much power doing that, circulating water, as I would have to just pump water with electric, and the idea was to be off-grid. But yeah, they come with a sand pump. Yeah, and they are pretty cheap. I think I got that pool, I think I got the pool with the filter and everything for like $200. That's 4,400 gallons completely full, which made a great reservoir for the ram for irrigation and stuff. Thrive in less than ideal water conditions, unlike other fish. I do know catfish are kind of like the bottom feeder, kind of like carp, right? And if you can raise in tanks, you can control everything. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Hey, homesteading the hard way. What's going on? How you doing? Welcome. Welcome to the Pharmacy Seeds Network. Now you can actually see my face, huh? You can see how bad I need a shave. Is that Darlene or Chris or both of you guys? We're just talking about fish farming here. Well, I have to say, I really like the live stream thing. I'm really looking forward to getting some guests on and doing some good podcasts. I have so much information I want to share with people. Oh, it's Chris. Awesome. Well, that's right, Chris. It's good to see you, man. Bucket fish. Oh, is that like a fish trap kind of thing, J-Dog? During flood season. I'll bet that's cool. What books do I recommend for ram pump? Yeah, engineered ahead of time. Well, actually, I wanted to build a ram pump for probably 25 years, and I finally, on this farm, decided that I'd been here long enough and screwed around long enough, it was time to try one. The pond down in the back here is spring fed and all. But back to your question, what books do I recommend? I don't have any books to recommend, but there's a Clemson EDU link, and I think I put it in my ram pumps diagnostics tips, tools, and techniques video in the description. Anyway, it's a Clemson EDU link, and I think that's the link that you need for anything you need to know engineering-wise about how to build a ram pump and all the parameters involved. And once you read that manual, you'll find it's pretty simple and straightforward. How big a pump did you make, by the way, and what's your fall, rise, what are you pumping to? Tell me more. Fish in the greenhouse. Well, I have thought about it. I kind of do want to do some aquaculture stuff. I need a bigger greenhouse, though. And that's kind of where I'm at on all fronts at this point. I built this small greenhouse solely, well, not solely, but mostly with the purpose to build and test a greenhouse and get environmental controls down and really have that dialed in before I scaled up to a bigger one, because I didn't want to make big expensive mistakes and have big losses. But I've done enough testing and screwing around. I think I thoroughly understand the greenhouse, the thermal mass system, how big a wood stove I need for a given area, etc., etc., etc. And I think I'm ready to go to a bigger scale greenhouse. And actually, I just talked to my parents today. Their neighbor across the street has a farm in our town here, and I guess he's interested in building a nice greenhouse and doesn't know computers or greenhouses very well. So we may end up collaborating on something, which would be really cool. But I don't know that I haven't even talked to him yet, so that's not really. It might be in the works. It might not. New channel, catfish and tanks. The trick is to start small and expand. You get enough. Yes, yes. I think that's the trick for everything, Brendan. Start small, make your mistakes small, and then once you have things figured out, scale up. Too many people go out and try to bite off a big chunk and they can't chew it. I don't like easy, you know that. Yeah, me neither. I'd much rather pick my way through the hard way. But learning the hard way is the way that you learn and keep it in your head. I like to say, a success is an opportunity for failure, and a failure is an opportunity for success, because you learn from your failures. And in too easy success, you skip past some of the learning steps you should make, and later on it gives you a failure. So I like to say those two invert to each other. Fields would flood and rescind. You walk across the field off the flow with a bucket and pick up the fish trapped in the puddles. Oh, they do a lot of that in China and Thailand and that kind of stuff. I've seen a couple of those kind of things. They actually build like little trap dams for them and stuff. So it must be similar to that. That makes sense. I'm surprised you guys must have a lot of low-lying fields in addition to. I know there's a lot of mountainous topography in Kentucky too. So it must be like the valleys and stuff where that occurs. Mike could try. Do what now? Yeah, yeah. I thought about that. I thought about trying some tilapia. The tanks I have are galvanized though, and I don't want to put fish in a galvanized tank. I did think about trying some fish in the ram pump reservoir, but when we have a dry season, we're unable to move water to that. Although I'm looking at changing some things around to make that possible. A rocket stove in the greenhouse. Ah, funny you should mention that. I used to have a rocket furnace in the greenhouse. Actually, it was in the ground under the greenhouse, and that actually worked pretty well. I built that as a test model. I actually built two of them. One in the old place I used to live, it heated the place, and the other one I built in the greenhouse. They were identical. One of my old videos, I think it's like building the greenhouse. Maybe I'll find it for you here if I can open another window. Anyway, so it was a 4-foot long by 15 inch by 15 inch furnace built into the ground about 4 feet with 2 different exhaust ports, one for startup that came out and went right out to a vertical, and the other one was a channel that went around underneath the whole greenhouse and heated the soil under the greenhouse, so that the soil underneath the greenhouse acted as a thermal mass. But let me see if I can find, I think it's greenhouse build evolution, yeah, to December 2018. So I'll drop a link for you in the chat on that. I can test, get my screen back here. There you go. PU truck bedliner, maybe. I'm always afraid of toxins with the paints and plastics and that kind of stuff. Like even plastics leach estrogen mimicking compounds, and so they screw up hormones. And hormones are super interactive. For example, if you took all of the hormones from all of the men on the planet and put them in a pile, you'd have about 70 pounds of hormones. So very sensitive. And then for contrast to that, if you took all of the hormones from all of the women on the planet, you'd only have about 7 pounds. So maybe that helps people understand how why women are so much more sensitive to hormonal shifts and that kind of stuff, because they have much less in their system, and so they respond much more per parts per million, parts per billion, whatever, how you want to look at that concentration wise. Yeah, I kind of thought the galvanized wouldn't be good, because that's like what, nickel and zinc or something like that? Chris probably knows. Above grade, yeah. I had a hybrid version that I had above grade that I used just for cooking and stuff. I love rocket stoves, and actually what I really want to do ultimately is build a rocket stove furnace immersed in a water jacket for the greenhouse and use convective thermal siphon flow to do all the heat exchange. But I haven't had the time to get a design together and the parts and the welding and yada 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 yada. But that actually is in my plans. I love the rocket stoves. They're super clean, super efficient, and it's in the works for sure. So I'm glad you're onto that also. That's awesome. Two 800-gallon stock tanks. They are galvanized. Okay, interesting. Two 800-gallon tanks. So how many fish are they putting in an 800-gallon tank, and how much fish meat are you getting on a per month, week, year, whatever, on a timeline basis? Out of curiosity, if you know. Yeah, I thought about EPDM. And EPDM is a little more stable, and I think it leaches a little less, and I know it's very temperature resistant because I looked at it for a thermal mass tank, and I think it's good to like 280 or 300 degrees Fahrenheit, something like that. Much higher than I would have expected it to be. That was what I thought of, because it's also relatively inexpensive compared to other stuff, although it's not cheap. I did look into, I think, like a 15 by 20 chunk, and I think it was like $300, which isn't bad when you think, you know, that's probably a 1,500-gallon tank. Hang on, I gotta turn the radio down here. Left my amateur radio on in my pocket. Rocket mass heater built of ceramic fiberboard. Good evening, Mama Tried. Welcome to the Pharmacy Seeds Network live stream. Glad you made it in. Ceramic fiberboard. Isn't that like a construction board? And ceramic would make sense. That would be heat resistant. That would be really good, actually. Do you do any videos, J-Dog? I can't remember if you do videos. I know I've checked out your channel, but I've met so many people recently I can't keep track of who's who. Yeah, fish water is excellent fertilizer homesteading. Well, that's right, Chris. Yeah, that's part of why I want to integrate the fish tanks to the greenhouse system for aquaculture, so you can recycle. You can basically clean and purify the water and get the nutrients from the fish, and vice versa, you know. 2,500 degrees. Okay. Yeah, that would hold up. I was actually looking at refractory cement for the core, and then everything else I'd like to do in stainless steel, although that's not the cheapest material to go with. Yeah, there's a video on YouTube. It's the guy down in Australia built these huge greenhouses, and they're all aquaculture. And so he's got fish in them, and then he's got all sorts of plants and trees and stuff like that growing in them, and then he's also got worms in them. So he's composting in the soil in conjunction with the aquaculture system. Very cool. Yeah. Now you got a turtle, huh? What kind of turtle? My brother and I used to catch painter turtles in my parents' pond when we were kids. We caught so many we had to start, we started taking a knife and carving into the shell. We numbered them so we would know if we'd caught them before. I think we were up to like 25 the last check. Cuttable with a steak knife. Oh, okay. What did I just come across? Oh, Starlight. Are you familiar with Starlight, J-Dog? It's a heat-resistant material that's pliable. It's actually what they use for spaceships, so they can take the re-entry, because of the heat at re-entry is ridiculous. You can basically take a blowtorch. You can hold a piece in your hand like a 1/4 inch thick and put a blowtorch with a blue hot flame to it on the other side, and it's warm to the touch at most. It's super resistant to heat. Since 1980 you've had him? Wow, a redneck slider. I don't think I've ever seen a redneck slider turtle. In one of my videos I've got a box turtle here. I find box turtles out here from time to time. I always got a kick out of them. Yeah, that's right. I think so. I think that's a great way to do a lot in a small space, and I really like the closed fertility loop system. I like to build an ecosystem based on a natural ecosystem. I think that's really the way forward. There's too much chemical and fossil fuel inputs in our food chain right now. If we keep it up, we're going to just destroy our planet and our environment. And I think the only way to change that is to build new. Okay. Yeah, I'll have to take a look and see. Actually, let me just drop that into Google and see what we come up with. See if I recognize. Let's go to images. Oh. No, that's a little different than a painter, I think. Beautiful turtle, though. Wow, look at the colors on him. Does yours have the yellows and reds on the neck and stuff? The size of a quarter. Nice. Common pet turtles. Okay. A swimming pool vacuum. You could even just use a siphon, actually, J-Dog. I do that in the pool reservoir when I want to clean the gunk out of it. I just basically hook up a big vacuum hose, start a siphon up, and then I can suck out whatever I want. I don't even need a pump that way. Yeah, we used to catch little painter turtles that maybe about like this when we were kids, and we'd build. Well, I was a kid. My brother was 8 years older than me. But we'd build little mazes in the beach in the sand and have them run through the maze. It was so much fun. Grandma would cook them. Well, you know, that's part of survival. Anything that's meat is game to eat, I guess, right? I'm told turtle soup is really good. I've never tried it. My dad was a certified flight instructor and a pilot when he was younger, and again when he retired he was a certified flight instructor. But when he was younger, he had a turtle hunter guy hire him to fly him over the Hudson River so he could find out where all the turtles were hiding. And he would go out, he would get these massive snapping turtles, and I guess he sold them to the Chinese restaurants in the city for really good money. And a couple of guys came to my parents' pond once and caught big old snappers like that out of there. We always swam in the pond. My mom was like, I don't know if we should swim in there anymore, but we kept swimming there. You only eat snapping turtles, okay. How do you do them? Do you make soup? Plug it into the circulator pump inlet. Yeah, oh, that makes sense. Yeah, that would give you a little more thrust and draw. Never had turtle. No, I've never tried turtle, I've never tried snake, and I've never tried alligator. I'd like to try alligator. Snake, I guess I'd try if it was offered to me. I don't have a big interest in it. And I think I'd like to try turtle soup just out of curiosity. Gopher turtles, land tortoise. Oh, that sounds like the box turtle. See if I can find my video on that for you. Yeah. Isn't it hard to shell though? To get like the turtle meat out of the shell? I'm sure there's a technique. Just like chicken. Of course. What doesn't taste just like chicken? That makes sense though. Bigger than a box turtle. Yeah, I was going to say a box turtle would be kind of a small meal. I hear alligator tastes just like chicken too. And then somebody else I talked to said, no, that's not quite right. It's a little different than chicken. Beef. Yeah. That's what it looks more like to me when I've seen alligator meat on the TV shows and stuff. It looked more like beef. It don't taste like chicken. So what have you been up to, Chris? Are you get your sweet potatoes started yet down there? A pair of box turtles going at it. I'll have to check that out. I've never seen him do battle. I'll find one like out here in the summer when I'm mowing. Usually I find them before I come through with the mower. I did hit one last year. I felt horrible after I hit him. I just didn't see him. You know, he went through the blades and that was it. Not time yet, huh? What strain of sweet potato do you grow, Chris? Do you grow Beauregard or something else? I'm getting ready to start slips up here, but maybe I should wait a little more. I was going to get them cranking in the greenhouse and be able to step out when the weather shifts and go. An hour or more, really? Yeah, were they fighting or mating or just interacting, kind of? How would a turtle fight? That's gotta be interesting. I'm gonna have to check that video out. Now on the sweet potatoes, do you put yours in water to start them, Chris, or in soil? I was looking at different starting techniques last night or the night before on YouTube. I think I found one I really like. Georgia Reds. I've never heard of those. Hey, I wonder if I could get some Georgia Reds from you. I'm really into collecting like plant strains. I love to have all different varieties of stuff. Especially stuff that most people don't have in my area. That's one of my favorite marketing techniques. Part of why I had ginger and weird stuff like that here. They were mating. You flagged it for parental guidance. Yeah, can't have any little kids watching turtle porn. Not quite as bad as kitty porn, but you know. Gibbs Free Energy. Can you elaborate, Ben? I've been studying the free energy stuff for a while. Are you familiar with Thane C. Hines out of the University of Ottawa and his regenerative generators in soil? Oh, see, Deep South Homestead. Okay, I'll check out his video. Thanks. Just plant the whole potato and pull the slips in a month. Okay, you put it right in soil straight up, Chris. Okay. So you guys both do in soil. I was thinking about water, but I don't know. I bought slips last year, and that's what these potatoes are. But I plan to propagate my own from here on, if I can pull them through the winter. So far, so good. Yeah, there was one guy that was doing them. Yeah, yeah. I like to do stuff that you can't find locally or in a grocery store, and I like to do, especially now that I have the greenhouse, I like to do strains that are like really out of my climate. But because I have the greenhouse, I have the extended season. Gibbs free energy. Your thermal mass is storing Gibbs free energy. I'll have to look into Gibbs free energy. I'm not familiar with that one. More and better slips in soil than in water. Ah, that kind of makes sense. Yeah, you will? Awesome. That'd be great, Chris. I had bought a bunch of different, like, purple and, like, all kinds of, like, cool varieties a few years back, but I didn't know sweet potatoes that well, and they came through okay. I had decent harvest, but then I wasn't able to store them I was hoping to store them for the winter, but I didn't know about having to cure them at higher humidities and temperatures, and I just didn't understand the life cycle of the sweet potato very well, and so I didn't manage to save them through the winter. But I want to go back and build up my strain. With all the problems I had with Colorado potato bugs last year, until I get my soil up to better health and can defend against them, I'm going to run sweet potatoes, because those did really well for me, and they're really easy to do. And I love sweet potatoes. They're one of my favorite, like, starch sources. Those and squash, man, the energy you have the next day is just incredible. I didn't know there was another way. Yes, curing is very important. I learned that. I learned that the hard way. I did cure them this year, but I stored them in a place that's a little cool. I had a couple start to mold on me, so I pulled them back out and just laid them out in open air for a while so the mold wouldn't get them. I've got probably 6 or 8 good potatoes I can start for slips, so I should be set to crank out a good amount this season. Oh yeah, right. Okay. Yeah, no, I know the free energy term. I'm not familiar with Gibbs, the Gibbs, Gibbs. I hadn't run across that term before, but yeah, I know free energy. It's it's a clickbait term too. But there's a lot of interesting research going on in that field too. Are you familiar with Stan Myers, Ben, and his water carburetor for his car, his water-powered car? Really interesting if you're not familiar with it. They think he was murdered. Poisoned, actually. Going to my place in April for vacation. Going to a vacant abandoned lot and get some cuttings off the roses. They're all pink, I think. Oh, roses, yeah. Those are like wild rose? Are those multiflora rose? Or are they, oh, what's the other one? There's one that's, Rugosa rose is very beautiful and has an awesome smell. I want to get some of those going again too. Pitiful harvests. You should look into good mulches, Geeky Gardens, and also foliar feeds. A product like C-Stim would probably tremendously help your productivity. You can get it from Advancing Eco Agriculture. Oh, you raised them commercially. Yeah, okay, so you're really familiar with the business then. Gibbs invented it, entropy, etc. Ah, okay. I got you. Yeah, I'm familiar with entropy and enthalpy. You cure with heat. Now, see, all the research I found, Chris, was, I think they said keep it at 80 degrees and 50 to 75% humidity for, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks. So I basically just put them in a bucket in the greenhouse where they would be around 80 degrees and the humidity would stay high. And that seemed to work pretty well. But maybe there's a better way. That's one thing I have to upgrade this year is my storage and processing spaces. I don't have any great clean spaces to do stuff. Kind of work out of boxes and try to dodge molds and weather. They were planted. Eventually the lot will be bulldozed. I guess it's a video. Oh yeah. They're planted. Okay. Still, you could take cuttings off them or dig some up. Are you digging up or just taking cuttings? Multiflora rose is a pest. Yes, we have multiflora rose all over this farm. Wasn't here before native. When this place was logged about 30 years ago, the logger must have had multiflora rose roots or seeds or something on his logging equipment, and this whole farm was infested. And when I moved here, I spent the first year and a half or two clearing multiflora rose, and actually I'm still clearing some of it. That new roadway I started cutting, that was all multiflora rose. A lot easier to clear with a tractor and a front end loader than it is by hand or trying to mow through it. That stuff just tears you up. And when I worked for the surveyor engineer, that was the majority of the stuff we had to cut baseline through was multiflora rose. And I would come home with arms, hands, legs, everything shredded every day. I was always getting sliced up. They are excellent soil builders, though. If you dig one of those up and look underneath, you'll see the soil around the root base of that is super dark. And actually, when I first started learning about soil nutrition, biology, soil building, that kind of stuff on another level, one of the first tests I did was cutting the rose bushes off and planting in those spots. And I think I still have an old video up of, you can see the corn that I planted where the multiflora rose were and weren't, and the corn that was growing where they were is much taller, much healthier, much more robust than where it wasn't. So interesting comparison. They can be used as a good soil builder, but as you know, they're also hell on wheels to deal with. Yeah, it smells great for a week and then, well, enough. Yeah. We use a tobacco barn. Nice. Yeah, that's a great way to cure, huh? I actually grew tobacco a few years ago, but didn't have a place to cure it properly. Ended up molded on me. I want to grow it again. Did you dig it up? The multiflora? No. But I either dozed them under or cut them off. Actually, some of them I yanked out with a truck and a chain. I yanked the whole thing out, root and all. But the ones that I didn't dig up, I mow over repetitively, and over time they give up. But you got to mow pretty frequently and stay on top of them. This whole farm, this whole area here, was about 2.5 acres. Well, I can actually show you. Go to Google Earth quick. Let me just push Google Earth over to the other monitor. And we'll go to here, and let me just kick in the other screen. Let me size this up. And transition in. Alright, so this is my farming space here. And this whole area, see the yellow here all around the outside? Well, excepting this section where the green comes across here, because this is planned expansion in here this year. But all of this stuff was all grown in with multiflora rose. And I'll take you back in the timeline on Google Earth so you can see. If I can get it to timeline for me. Maybe I'm not doing something right here. Timeline. There we go. Okay, that's 1995. Let's go forward to, well, there's 2010. So you can see that the multiflora rose was starting to grow up there. I came here in like, yeah, see there's 2011 where it was overgrown, and there's actually that corn test that I was telling you about where I ripped out the multiflora rose in here, and you can see the different corn heights. Obviously you can't see them here in the Google Earth side, video. But then, let's see, 2016 I did a big clear out, so we'll go forward to 2016, and yeah, you can see where I cleared out all of this was multiflora down into here too. I cleared that all out so I could actually farm it. Let me see. Remove. Yes. Transition. You want to see me talk about my maps more? Hang on, let me go back here. I'll just take cuttings, less work, less issues to owners. It's Houston. If it's considered trash, folks get pissed if you try to clean it. Yeah, I hear you. Cuttings are easy. I mean, roses, you do push the limits, don't you? Yes, I do. I love to push the limits. I'd love to see what I can get to grow out of its native environment. So far I'm doing okay with ginger and sweet potato, and I got an olive tree and citrus. Well, I gotta do some work on the soil for my citrus trees, but yeah, I like to push the limits. Hummingbirds love tobacco. Yes, they do. I couldn't believe how many hummingbirds came into my my plots when I had tobacco. My tobacco was cranking when I grew it. I put down a lot of bat guanos and I irrigated regularly. I had a 2-inch irrigation pump I built that I was running at the time on the old farm. You'd like to see me talk about my maps? What specifically would you like me to talk about? Lagging? Oh no, not lagging. Okay, homesteading. Have a good night. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks for jumping in. Thanks for visiting. Still lagging? Are we past that now? And some people come in and we can get a good discussion going. That'd be great. Okay, homesteading. Have a good night. Seems okay on this end. What would you like to see about maps more? I'm glad you're interested in the maps. That's actually one of my favorite parts of it. You're trying figs now. I want to do figs too. I want to get some Chicago hardy fig. And actually a friend of mine up in Hunter, amateur radio friend of mine, has some figs that he just got back in the fall. And he's asking me all about how to care for them. And I was trying to tell him my best, but I don't actually have any experience, so kind of felt like I was dishing advice I might not be qualified for. But he said his figs have sprouted and they're doing well. So a guy in Alaska growing oranges, nice. There's a guy in Nebraska who's got there's a YouTube video of it. He's got a citrus tree greenhouse in Nebraska. No supplemental heat. It's all done through heat from the ground, thermal mass in the soil, and in-ground greenhouses, which is a concept I want to employ at some point in the future. Oh, Google Maps eating the bandwidth. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Yeah, I'm hoping this summer we upgrade to the high-speed mesh network. Our amateur radio club is building a mesh network here, and should be able to push somewhere around 200 megabytes per second fast. But we haven't overcome some hill logistics yet, but it's in the works. Okay, J-Dog, thanks for checking in. Good chatting with you. Much appreciated to have the support. Anyway, Ben, I don't know if you heard me ask before, but what specifically would you like me to talk about more on my maps? I could go on all day. I love mapping. I did a lot of AutoCAD and GIS mapping when I was working for the surveyor engineer. We did all kinds of stuff. I mean, state plane coordinates, we did stakeout, we did, you name it. We could stake precision, like within 1/8 of an inch, you know, across hundreds of acres. So I'm really into maps and really into precision. In fact, I do most of my farm design work in AutoCAD. Although recently I've switched to using Google just for simplicity, but it doesn't have anywhere near the precision that I like that we have in AutoCAD. and it doesn't have a lot of the calculation tools that AutoCAD provides. Ah, in context of here it is in the map. Yeah, I want to incorporate something like that too. I've been trying to think how to do that without a tremendous amount of editing. But yeah, I almost want to. I almost want to have like a video overlay, you know, like in the upper corner with a map on it and an arrow showing where I'm at in the map. Does that sound like a good idea? Oh, yeah, the mesh network stuff is cool. We played around with 2.4 gigahertz stuff, but it's too hilly around here for us to use that effectively over any distance. And also, if we get a snowstorm, it interferes with the signal because 2.4 is nearly resonant with water. But we think the 900 megahertz stuff, and we've done some testing, we think the 900 megahertz stuff will overcome that. And as amateur radios, we actually have priority in that 900 megahertz band, so that's kind of an advantage, and we can run a lot more wattage there without endangering the lives of everyone within range. The 2.4 gigahertz is like you run any kind of power on that frequency, and it's like running a microwave at your forehead. That's all right, Ben Rayner. Okay, good. All right, I'll try to incorporate that. So 20 years ago, let's see. Yeah, around 2000. Okay, yeah, mesh was kind of evolving then. I hadn't even heard of mesh until maybe 5 or 6 years ago. Like the term mesh. I had played with a lot of wireless networking stuff, and in fact, the old farm I was on, my farming area was too far away from the house for internet, and I put in a wireless mesh repeater so I could get to my maps and, you know, check on YouTube, look things up, all that kind of stuff right on site. That was a fun project, and in fact that's the box that the greenhouse pie is in the greenhouse now, was the box that all that mesh router gear was in then. It's okay, Ben, we don't expect lightning responses. I think there's a little bit of a delay too between my broadcast and you're actually receiving it. I think it's like probably 20 seconds or something like that. Yeah, it's amazing how much the mesh network stuff has evolved in recent years, Geeky. Oh, okay. 800 megahertz at the health department. Yeah, we actually provide some emergency service communication for a local organization called Family of Woodstock. They're kind of an emergency help poor families kind of organization, for lack of a better description. We actually set them all up with radio communication between a couple of their different places in our local area. And we actually got some of them to go get their amateur radio licenses so they could provide that communication from point to point in the event of a power outage or a major disaster. And our club also has a RACES division, Radio Amateur Civil Emergency Service, and so we provide emergency communications during you know, major storm events, power outages, and we also do exercises, training for that sort of stuff. I'm going to try and take my video camera to Field Day this year and get some video of all the amateur radio equipment we have and how we set it up in our communication center. It's pretty cool stuff. A CB version of that? Really? Tell me more about that, Ben. like on the CB frequencies, or similar in license-free category? Is that air chat or something like that, maybe? Networking between cars and such. Oh yeah, yeah, between cars. Yeah, that's a cool concept. The problem is frequency allocation, and the commercial industry is taking over frequencies at a phenomenal rate because they just keep adding stuff, you know, 3G, 4G, 5G, and then all the commercial radio station stuff, and so on and so forth, not to mention military and municipality type communication stuff. You think about how much stuff we're getting bombarded with RF wise. I don't know if that's good for us, really. But wireless communication is a powerful tool for sure. Yeah, our mesh, our test mesh network that we had set up on 2.4 gigahertz was like that, and we could actually, each station could have its own set of services. So you could set up like IRC chat as a service. You could just basically go to the page and click on the link and it would dump you into the IRC chat. And we had some mapping stuff and a few other cool things. I forget all what we were playing with. It's actually been a couple years. And we just decided we had to go to 900 megahertz because 2.4 just doesn't cut it around here. Use the CB bandwidth to link via local links. Oh, huh. That almost sounds kind of like D-Star. Are you familiar with D-Star? It's like an ICOM. It's digital. I think it's 1.2 megabits per second. But some of the more advanced ICOM amateur radios come with D-Star built in. And so you can send and receive GPS location information, text messaging, and you can do voice on it at the same time. And now the new stuff that's coming out is DMR, digital media radio, I think it is. Basically, it's like a handheld radio, kind of like this little guy here. Make sure my video is still working here, so you can see. Kind of like this little guy here. This is a just a 2 meter 440 radio for amateur radio, but kind of like this, but it uses digital, and you can actually set up a hotspot, and you can connect to chat groups a lot like you would chat on the internet, kind of like the chat channel here, but you can chat in audio or in text. You can do all kinds of cool stuff with it. A lot of the younger amateur radio guys are really into it. I'm kind of old-fashioned about my radio. I just want a radio I can key up and not have to program. But some pretty cool stuff. Yes, 3.579 megahertz, I think, is the PC clock. I could be wrong on that. Yeah, and then you think about some of these computers that are, you know, the older ones at least that had the 2.4 gigahertz processor. There we are in the microwave range again. I think it's 2495 megahertz that the water molecule is resonant with. Yeah, that might be it then. Anyway, the DMR radio is a big thing. What's the... It's like hosemeister.net or something like that. I'm going to find a link for you. DMR radio. Hosemaster, Brandmaster, something like that. Brandmeister. Hose.brandmeister.network. That's it. I'll throw a link in the chat for you here. Interesting mode though. Anyway, here you go. There's a link on it. It looks like the greenhouse needs a stoke here, so I think I better go ahead and cut this live stream off and go take care of the greenhouse and a few other things I need to do. I think my roommate is trying, or my housemate is trying to get some rest too, so maybe I'll just be quiet for a bit and let him do that. Anyway, thanks everybody for joining the Pharmacy Seeds Network live stream. I'm glad the camera and audio work okay, and we had an awesome discussion. I look forward to many more of these. And as things go forward here, I'm going to get some awesome guests on, and we're going to have some awesome discussions about farming, health, technology, you name it. The spectrum is nearly limitless. I'm interested in so many things, I can't just keep it to farming, but they all seem to relate. Anyway, thank you everyone for joining the live stream here on the Pharmacy Seeds Network. I'm going to go ahead and post this up 25 seconds before I talked about it. Ha! Okay. Well, that's not bad, I guess. Wife came home. Okay, Ben, take it easy. I'm just getting ready to cut the live stream off anyway. Have a great night. Thanks again, everyone, for joining. I hope you'll jump in on the next live stream if you can. And I know I have other videos in the works. I can't remember what they are off the top of my head. It has been fun, Geeky Gardens. I'm going to go check out your turtles fighting link there. That'll be cool. All right, thank you, everyone. Hope you have a great evening and a good week. Thanks for watching the Pharmacy Seeds Network.